They told me I was lucky. Some girls never get a chance like this, my mother said as she brushed my hair tight into a bun. He's rich. He'll take care of you. I was 15. He was 48, a two-time widower. No one wanted to talk about what happened to the first two wives. Sickness, they said. Bad luck. But I'd heard whispers, and I saw the way he looked at me like I was already something he owned. The night before the wedding, I wasn't allowed to sleep in my room. My mother said it was tradition. I stayed in the guest room. No phone, no windows that opened, but they forgot to take my old tablet, half broken, stuffed behind a stack of blankets. I hadn't used it in months, but it still had Wi-Fi. That's how I found it. His first wife had died in a bathtub. No autopsy. Second one fell down the stairs. I found photos, news articles that didn't match what I'd been told. One reporter hinted at bruises that were never explained. Police had visited both times but dropped the cases because of lack of evidence. I couldn't breathe. I checked my parents' finances. A week ago, they'd received a payment, large, from his lawyer. I remembered my father saying, "This will clear everything. We'll be safe again." That's when I knew they were selling me. So I made a plan. I tied blankets into a rope and waited for the guard, yes, a guard, to fall asleep outside the room. I cut my palm and wiped it on the windowsill, left a note that only my little sister would understand. I saw the bathtub, it said. Find the article about stairwells. She used to sneak read those stories with me, she'd know. I slid down the rope and vanished into the dark. Stole a car from a neighbour too drunk to notice. Drove until sunrise. I didn't know where I was going yet, but I knew what I had to do. They thought I was just a girl, that I'd die out there. They were wrong. I'd be back, and I wouldn't come quietly. They called me the shame of the family, the girl who ran away, the girl who ruined everything. But out here, I had no name, just a bag of stolen clothes, a cracked laptop, and a lie I was learning how to live. I found her by accident, Marla. She lived in a rusted RV parked deep in the woods, miles from the nearest town. I broke into her food shed, starving. She caught me, held a shotgun to my chest. I cried. She didn't lower it, but she didn't pull the trigger either. "I don't like liars," she said. "I'm not a liar," I said. She gave me a week. You work, you eat, you lie, you leave. That was her deal. Marla taught me how to fix a flat tire, filter creek water, kill a rabbit. I didn't ask what she was hiding from. She didn't ask me either. At night, I used her old generator to power the laptop, set up a new identity, Casey, 16, homeschooled, found an online program that didn't ask too many questions, paid in gift cards I traded for scrap metal and odd jobs in nearby towns. I studied in the mornings, worked with Marla in the afternoon, slept with a knife under my pillow. I kept tabs on home from the local library Wi-Fi, pretending I was someone else. The news called me a missing girl, plastered my school photo everywhere. The headline read, "Small town teen disappears, day before wedding to prominent local businessman." They painted me like I was mentally unstable or kidnapped. My parents cried on TV. My mother wore black. My father said, "We just want her home. We're devastated." They were not devastated. They were richer. I dug deeper, found court records. My parents had filed a life insurance claim. They claimed I'd likely died by suicide. The payout, nearly $500,000. Approved, transferred, closed. And guess who co-signed it? The man I was supposed to marry. I nearly threw up in the library bathroom. I wasn't just unwanted. I was worth more to them dead. Back at the RV, I asked Marla how to disappear for good. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "First, you learn how to watch without being seen. Then, you learn how to wait." I waited 3 years. They thought I'd break, starve, be found and dragged back, or worse, end up in a ditch. But I didn't die. I learned. I built a new name, a new mind, a new face even. They'd forgotten about me, but I hadn't forgotten a thing. The package came wrapped in a faded pillowcase. No return address. Just a postmark from the town I swore I'd never see again. Inside was a small, battered journal. The first page had my name, my real name, written in my sister's looping, half-shaky handwriting. "If you're reading this, then you're alive, and I need help." My hands trembled. She had written everything, page after page in blue ink, some smeared by tears. She kept it all hidden in her closet, behind a panel in the wall, until she found a way to mail it through a friend visiting a nearby city. The entry started 3 months after I left. The town believed I was dead. My parents held a memorial. People brought flowers. My mother gave speeches. But the groom, he remarried within a year. Another 15-year-old. Her name was Eliza. Quiet. Poor family. Her parents said it was an honor. Eliza disappeared 6 weeks later. No funeral. No news. Just gone. My sister, only 12 at the time, started watching more closely. She wrote what she overheard. Conversations behind locked doors. Money being moved. Women crying in the garage. Her own name mentioned once, then never again. She knew something was wrong, but she was too scared to say anything. My father had a temper. My mother had a smile that never reached her eyes. By the last few entries, her writing got frantic. He's back. He's asking about me now. They say I'm next. Please, please come back. I read it 3 times cover to cover. Didn't sleep that night. I wasn't 15 anymore. I had a new name, new face, new life. I could have burned the journal and stayed gone. Safe. But I didn't, because she waited. Because I knew the signs now, the language of threats and false smiles. Because whatever they were involved in, it hadn't stopped. They thought I'd vanished for good. They'd forgotten who I used to be. But I wasn't coming back as her. Not the girl they tried to sell. Not the family shame. I was something else now, and they had no idea what was coming. I came back under a different name, different hair, different voice, different everything. The town had changed in small ways. New shops, more cameras, cleaner streets. But underneath, it was still the same. People who smiled too wide. Secrets behind every picket fence. I got a job at a local non-profit. It helped low-income families and was closely partnered with the church board, where my mother now sat like some small-town queen. She wore pearls and called herself a pillar of the community. I called her Target One. No one recognized me, not even her. It was almost insulting. All the years I spent in that house, and she looked through me like I was just another intern. She had remarried. The new husband was quieter than my dad, younger too. They met through the church. He handled donations and financial planning. He liked to talk, especially when I smiled at him just right and asked questions like I was impressed. He told me everything. My mother had been getting threatening letters, notes with only dates. One of them was the day Eliza went missing. Another was the day I vanished. He said my mother didn't sleep anymore, that she thought someone was watching the house. I told him maybe she was just feeling guilty. He didn't laugh. She started unraveling fast after that. I mailed her an old photo of me and my sister from before the wedding. No note, just the image. Then, a week later, I left a half-burnt journal page on her windshield, the part where my sister wrote, "They say I'm next." She showed up at church that day, shaking, pale, said someone was trying to ruin her, but no one else had seen the notes, or the photo, or the page. People started to whisper. Some thought she was drinking. Others said it was early dementia. I watched from the back pew, silent and invisible, while she tried to keep her fake world from collapsing. And every time she looked around like she felt something watching, I smiled because she was right. I wasn't done yet. I set the meeting through a fake consulting firm. We told him we were looking for investors in a housing project just outside of town. Discrete opportunities, the email said. My father liked words like that. He walked in wearing the same kind of suit he used to wear to church. Pressed, too shiny, trying too hard. His hair was grayer now, but his smirk hadn't aged a day. He didn't recognize me, not even a flicker. He shook my hand and called me Miss Carter, sat down and started talking like I was just another way to make money. I let him go on. He bragged about how much land he'd acquired over the past 5 years. Abandoned homes, foreclosure flips, even the lot where Eliza's family used to live. He laughed when he said it. Sometimes you got to clean up the mess to get to the value, he said, swirling his glass of overpriced scotch. I've been cleaning up family messes for a long time. That's when I knew. My mother hadn't pulled the strings. She was just good at smiling and shutting up. It was him, all along. The deals, the marriages, the disappearances. He wasn't manipulated. He was the one who sold me. I tapped the small mic under the table once, recording locked. I looked him in the eye and asked, "Ever lose sleep over any of those messes?" He snorted. "Please, people are weak. They make drama out of survival. If you want something in this world, you take it before someone else does." I smiled and pretended to write that down. When he left, he didn't even ask for a card. Just said, "You've got a good head on your shoulders. Sharp eyes. Reminds me of someone I used to know." It almost made me laugh. Almost. I didn't just want revenge anymore. I wanted to destroy everything he'd built, ruin his name, rip the mask off in front of everyone who called him sir and mentor. I wanted him to feel the kind of helplessness he made us live in. He never saw it coming. He wouldn't, until it was already too late. I spotted him outside the cafe near Main Street, older, but still dressed like he thought money could keep him young. Designer watch, tight shirt, gold chain, and the girl on his arm, 17 maybe, smiling like she thought this was love. He was back, and he hadn't changed at all. His name was Kenneth Ray, but I always called him the Groom. He'd almost owned me once. Almost. And now I was going to own him. I made a new profile that night. Lily Carter, 16, new in town, bored, flirty, curious. I posted pictures of a girl who didn't exist, borrowed from a stock image site. Sweet-faced, innocent. He messaged me within 2 days. Sick men move fast. At first, he was cautious, asked if I was real, said he'd been hurt before. Then he started dropping compliments, calling me smart for my age, mature, the usual predator's playbook. I played dumb, sent voice messages using a filter, told him I felt like he understood me. He ate it up. He got sloppy fast. By the 3rd week, he was telling me about his businesses. Lily made him feel young, wild. I listened while he bragged about tax evasion, shell companies, how easy it was to buy silence. One night, he screen shared without noticing he had autofill enabled. I saw passwords, banking apps, a spreadsheet named backdoor accounts. I recorded every second. I didn't stop at the files. I traced his new companies, found fake contracts with teenage models, backroom donations to sketchy talent schools. I followed money that led to towns I'd never even heard of, some with missing girls. Then I sent everything to the FBI, to a journalist friend from a missing persons blog, to the local police, even though I didn't trust them. I made sure there were too many hands in it to bury it. The story broke 2 weeks later. Kenneth Ray investigated for alleged exploitation and fraud. His picture was everywhere, same smug face, this time framed in shame. His assets were frozen. His girlfriend disappeared from the media, and the cafe closed. He tried to deny everything, said it was a setup, that he was the victim. I watched the press conference on my phone from a diner an hour outside town, ate pancakes while he fell apart on live TV. He still didn't know who did it, but one day I'd make sure he found out, because that was only the beginning. It was the perfect trap, polished, elegant, impossible to ignore. I threw the gala under my fake name, Caroline Brooks, a charity benefit for at-risk youth, flashy venue, velvet invitations, black tie dress code, my mother's kind of event. My father's ego couldn't resist. The groom, Kenneth, was always drawn to money and attention. I made sure the guest list included all of them, plus one, his latest fiancée, barely 18. They didn't know who had invited them. That was the fun part. The night sparkled, champagne, cameras, a string quartet playing soft music. I floated through the room, unrecognizable, dressed in red while everyone else wore black. Some of the reporters asking questions were actors, so were 2 volunteers from the charity. Actually, women I'd hired to play victims. We started slow. A slideshow played, honoring lost girls, pictures of smiling faces, birthdays, school photos, names that had appeared in the background of police reports, never solved. Some guests nodded solemnly, pretending to care. My family looked bored. Kenneth looked annoyed. Then came Eliza's photo, and mine. Silence. Next slide. Bank transfers, from Kenneth's companies to accounts in my father's name. Then a video. An actor posing as a reporter interviewing survivors. A girl said she had escaped a trafficking ring, described the groom's house in detail, my mother's car, the church basement. I watched them all closely. My mother's hands shook. My father whispered something to her. Kenneth stood up. Then came the letter. One of the actors read it aloud. It was my sister's journal entry, the one that said, "They say I'm next." That was the crack. My cousin, drunk, blurted it out. They knew. All of them. It's not the first time. He tried to cover his mouth too late. My mother dropped her glass. My father went white. Cameras clicked. The reporters rushed in. My job was done. I walked out the back exit while the whole room exploded behind me. They still didn't know it was me. But after tonight, they'd be tearing each other apart, trying to find out. The morning after the gala, they all tried to disappear. My father wired money to a bank in Belize. My mother booked a one-way flight to Spain using a fake name, Margaret Dean. Kenneth paid cash for a private jet out of a small airstrip no one was supposed to know about. They moved fast, but I moved faster. The bank account in Belize. I'd already flagged it with Interpol. The moment he transferred the funds, it froze. He called the bank screaming. They told him it was under investigation. He slammed a door so hard the glass cracked. The fake passport. I created that alias myself weeks earlier and filed a fraud alert with Homeland Security. The moment my mother scanned it at the airport, security closed in. As for Kenneth, I sent his flight plan, passenger list, and pilot's name to the FBI and 3 different news stations. The jet never even took off. He was arrested on the tarmac, still holding his leather duffel bag and yelling about political setups. By noon, it was all over the internet. TikTok exploded. A video of Kenneth being dragged out of the jet hit 5 million views in hours. Twitter threads broke down the timeline, matching names, money trail, everything. Reddit had a dedicated thread within minutes. People sharing photos, screenshots, family connections. Remember that missing girl from 7 years ago? This is her revenge story. It went viral. People called it the Gala Exposé. More girls came forward. One posted anonymously about her time in Kenneth's modeling program. Another revealed she'd been promised a scholarship by the church, then vanished for 2 years. They weren't just victims, they were survivors, and they were angry. The FBI finally made a public statement. They called it a multi-state trafficking investigation involving financial crimes, conspiracy, and suspected homicide. They didn't say the names yet, but they didn't have to. Everyone already knew. By evening, the church had locked its doors. My father's company site vanished. My mother's charity was under internal review. And me? I was at a gas station 2 states away, watching the live stream on my phone, sipping cheap coffee. People walked by, laughing about that psycho wedding guy from TikTok. They didn't know I was the reason this all happened. They just knew someone out there had burned it all to the ground, and I wasn't finished yet. I found her sitting alone at the back of a church that no longer held sermons. She looked older, sharper around the edges. Her hair was darker now, her eyes tired. She didn't recognize me when I sat beside her. "I thought you were dead," she said softly, not turning to look. "I was," I replied. She turned then, eyes wide, mouth half open like she couldn't decide whether to scream or run. I took off the wig, let her see me, truly see me, for the first time in 7 years. She touched my face like she was testing if I was real. "You look different." "So do you." We didn't hug right away. There was too much between us. Silence filled the space for a while, thick and heavy. She asked how I'd survived. I asked how she had. She told me about pretending not to hear things, keeping her head down, faking smiles, how she used to whisper into her pillow at night, hoping I'd hear her somehow. "I kept your journal," I said. "It saved my life." She smiled, just barely. "I didn't know if you got it." "I did. And now I need to show you something." We drove an hour to the edge of the county, an old cemetery, mostly overgrown. One grave stood out, newer than the rest, with fake flowers around it. Eliza's name was carved into the stone. No body, just a date and a lie. My sister knelt down. She was just a kid. So were we. She started crying then, quiet, like she'd learned not to make noise when it hurt. I sat beside her. "You don't have to stay in that town. You don't owe them anything." She looked up. "What would we even do? Whatever we want. We can disappear, start over, or we fight. We take every piece of what they tried to build and tear it down." She didn't answer right away, just stared at the headstone. Finally, she said, "I want to burn it all." I smiled. Good, because I already lit the match. The courtroom was colder than I expected. I stood at the front, wearing black. No wig, no disguise. Just me. My real name printed on the witness list for the first time in 7 years. People in the crowd whispered as I stepped up. Reporters scribbled. My mother didn't look at me. My father stared like he was trying to see through me. I stared right back. The judge asked me to state my name for the record. I said it loud and clear. Then I told the truth. I told them how I was sold, how they called it a marriage but never asked what I wanted, how they let a man with dead wives put a ring on my finger, how they cashed in when I vanished. I told them about Eliza, about the girl before her and the girl after. I showed the recordings, the journal, the documents with forged signatures and fake bank accounts. I played the clip where my father bragged about cleaning up family messes. Everyone heard it. No one looked away. My sister sat in the front row. She didn't cry. She didn't flinch. She was stronger than me in some ways. My parents said nothing. Their lawyers tried to paint me as unstable, a runaway, a liar. But the internet already knew the truth. The jury didn't take long. My mother got 5 years. My father got 14. Kenneth, he pled out. 20 years minimum. No chance of parole. I didn't wait for sentencing. I left before the final words. I didn't want closure. I wanted control. That night, I posted everything online. The whole story, from start to finish. No names, no location, just fact. I posted it as The Girl Who Didn't Die. It went viral within hours. Hashtags, podcasts, news specials. Girls wrote me messages, some of them real, some just wanting to be heard. People offered money, interviews, deals. I ignored them all. I bought a ticket to nowhere. A bus headed west, name under an alias again. One bag, no goodbye. This time, I disappeared because I wanted to, not because I had to. I didn't leave to hide. I left because I'd said what needed to be said, and they all heard me.